David Johnston.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. My remarks will probably follow in the vein of those of my honourable friend, the member for Broxbourne. I don't have any outside interests or outside earnings. So in one sense, however strict the rules are, is not going to affect me directly. I've never been persuaded by the argument that some members used to earn a lot more elsewhere and therefore need to be able to earn more here. I think we all know what the salary is when we become MPs. I think there is a better argument about outside interests bringing skills and expertise, particularly not just, but particularly if it was a field you operated in before, and I think that probably helps to improve our legislation. But I think we can tighten the rules, and of course it should go without saying that our constituencies should come first and foremost, and I do think it's what the vast majority of us spend the vast majority of our time on. I've said a lot away from this place that when I went from being a charity chief exec to being an MP in 2019, I went from saint to sinner in the minds of the public. Because when you work for a charity, you are seen as one of the good guys, honest, principled, in it for the right reasons. And when you're a politician, you're seen as the opposite, dishonest, unprincipled, in it for yourself. And both caricatures are wrong. Now, I accept that there are some members of this House who have questions to answer about their outside interests. I personally think a lot of what they're being accused of is breaking the existing rules. I'm perfectly happy to accept that we do need to change some of these rules. We will never banish bad behaviour. Every workplace has rules because it knows people will behave inappropriately from time to time. That's true of absolutely anywhere. But I've got a number of concerns about the way this debate, not in this House, although a bit from the start of this debate, but the debate more generally in the last couple of weeks has been going. One of them is this divide between private sector and public sector. You know, we've had this sort of commentary from some members of the opposition that somehow if it's a public sector job, that's good. If it's a private sector job, that's bad. Now, it's about 1 in 6 of the country who work in the public sector. And they're not all on wards and in classrooms. They're often in offices, like the vast majority of people who are often also providing a good service to the country. It's just not publicly funded. I can't see why you could be a paid director of an NHS trust, because they are always paid positions. But you couldn't be a paid director of a company that was providing medicines or equipment to that NHS trust. I can't see why you could be involved in a law firm if it was defending public clients, but not if it was defending anybody else. And I think it's a bad message we're sending to the vast majority of people in the country who don't work in the public sector about the sorts of jobs and the sorts of organisations they work in. A second concern I have is that right now there are opposition activists saying it's all the Conservatives. There are Conservatives saying you've got a problem too. But what's the public saying? The public's saying you're all at it. Yep. You're all the same. I accept that politics means that the Labour Party think they've got a winning issue here, but I don't think any of us are truly winning in what has been going on in these recent weeks. The third thing I wanted to say is, the charities I ran were all about improving social mobility. So I spent a lot more time thinking about who gets into politics, the proportion that are from private school or are graduates or are wealthy or have done nothing but politics or who had to do unpaid internships, which were rife in this place, in order to get their foot on the ladder. I'm concerned that we have more people from ordinary backgrounds, more people with disabilities, that we make this place more family-friendly, because that's a challenge for people right now with children, and it's putting off those that have them who are thinking about politics. If we were going to make changes to this place, there's a whole range of changes that I think are probably more pressing, and I'd like to bind these ones up together with that, because I think that there's a lot that we could reform. But my final point is this. We have a responsibility to think about the politicians that come after us. We're not all the same. We're not all at it. The vast majority of us obey all the rules. And it is very tough to persuade talented people to consider politics because of the hours, the abuse, the increasing personal risk that you seem to be at, the association with the expenses scandal, which the majority of us were not even in the House at that time, and the system has completely changed, but which persists. And when we push this line that somehow MPs are all trying to get as much money as they can, and the only way that we can stop them and get them to focus on their constituents is to have new rules that make them do so, we do ourselves and our politics a disservice. I'm perfectly open-minded about the rule changes that we need to make. My most important test is, are we obeying all the rules that are there? But I really, really care about how politics and politicians are viewed. And what we're doing at the moment, trying to say, well, my party's a bit better than your party, is making the public's view of all of us worse.